Hi, I'm Norththorn from the Time for Rolling Guild. This is Vainglory Analytics video 9, Where's Kestrel? I'm doing another nice short video this time. CP Kestrels just love to run all over, eternally invisible. Of course, you can't do that right out of the gate. Your cooldown isn't short enough at first. That's what this video is about. What items does Kestrel need to stay invisible all the time? Let's start with the stats about Active Camo. When it's not overdriven, levels 1 to 4, her stealth lasts 1.5 seconds plus 3% of your crystal power, and the cooldown is 8 seconds. If you overdrive, it becomes 2 seconds of stealth plus 3% crystal power and 6-second cooldown. Energy cost is always 160, and even though Kestrel only has between 400 and 500 energy by default, so without batteries she can only do 2 or 3 active camos, we don't care in this video how many she can do. We just want to know, when does the cooldown get short enough so we can chain them together without a gap in between. CP Kestrel will be buying items that increase her crystal power and or cooldown acceleration. What combination of items should she buy to get her constant invisibility soonest? We'll think of a build as a point on a graph. The X value is the total crystal power you get from the build, and the Y-axis is the total cooldown acceleration. So stuff over here is high CP but low cooldown, over here is the other way around. You start down here with no items and no crystal power or cooldown acceleration, and if you have a really big build, you'll be over here, with lots of both. We can do some math to put boundary lines in this graph to show us where the constant invisibility starts. Let's consider the non-overdrive situation first. Remember, stealth duration is 1.5 seconds plus 3% CP. We're using X to mean crystal power. And cooldown was 8 seconds always, but it gets modified by your cooldown acceleration using the usual Vainglory formula for that. Like if the Y value, the cooldown acceleration, was 60%, which would be a 0.6, then we'd have 8 divided by 1.6, or 5 seconds as the actual cooldown. We want to know when these two things are equal. That would be the point at which your active camo runs out, just as the cooldown runs out and you can activate it right again. We can solve for Y and get a curve to plot on our graph. We can repeat the same exercise for when the ability is overdriven, and the result is the same, just with 2 numbers changed. The curves look like this on our graph. Now down below the curves, where we have no crystal power and cooldown acceleration, like a Kestrel right out of the gate, you can't do constant invisibility with that. Up above the curves, these are the builds that give you lots of CP and lots of cooldown, and so you can achieve constant invisibility. In between the two curves is where you have enough CP and cooldown to achieve constant invisibility only if you overdrive active camo. So, where do some builds we might care about fall in the graph? Let's start out easy. What one-item builds can get us constant invisibility? Just one. A Shatterglass alone will give you constant invisibility if you overdrive active camo. So, for example, in a Blitz match, you could guarantee constant invisibility right out of the gate by buying Shatterglass and overdriving B. Now, good players say that hybrid builds are no good, but if you wanted to put a Shatterglass with a weapon Kestrel, you could have constant invisibility if you overdrove B. This little notation here means that you'll have 0.5 seconds after your active camo goes off cooldown and before your invisibility runs out. That's plenty of time to tap your B again. Okay, how about 2-item builds? Ooh, that graph is a mess. Let's take away the labels. Well, now we can't tell what the builds are, but the point of this graph is to show you that there are tons of 2-item builds that will give you constant invisibility if you overdrive your B. So, most Kestrels with 2-item builds will have constant invisibility. There are some exceptions, like if you put an Echo in there, that gives you neither CP nor cooldown, but there's lots of builds here. If you really want to see all of them, here they are. Okay, what if you don't overdrive your B? There are exactly 4 2-item builds that give you constant invisibility even if you choose not to overdrive B. All of them start with a Shatterglass. This one doesn't look very useful because you get only 0.1 seconds to reactivate the ability before you appear, and that's risky, but the other 3 look workable. So, if you want to get constant invisibility quickly, with a Kestrel who doesn't plan to overdrive B, use one of these 3 pairs of items. In case you're looking for the cheapest path, here are the costs, but there's very little difference, so it doesn't much matter. Pick your favorite. Since there are so many 2-item builds that work with an overdriven B, we don't even need to look at 3-item builds. It would be an even bigger mess. If you got 3 items, you can probably do this. So, that's it. Like I said, a short video today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon with more Vainglory Analytics.